Thank you for staying with us. The United States, United Kingdom, and Canada have issued security alerts to their citizens in Nigeria, warning of potential violence during the planned nationwide protest slated to take off from the 1st of August this year. In separate travel advisories, the three countries cautioned their citizens to avoid areas where confrontations between security agencies and protesters might occur. The U.S. mission in Abuja urged Americans to avoid the rallies, advising them to steer clear of crowds and demonstrations and stay updated via local media. The alert highlighted the potential for roadblocks, checkpoints, traffic congestion, and physical confrontations. Joining us in the studio is public affairs commentator Mustapha Iwinla. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. And in our Abuja studio, we have former APC presidential aspirant who is also a businessman and politician, Adamu Garba. Adamu, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Yeah, good morning and thank you very much for having me.
All right, let me begin with you, Mr. Garba. The government has been, making effort to see how it can meet the demands of the protesters. Yet we've been seeing tensions brewing across the country, people issuing advisories. Now we see the US, the UK, and Canada issuing advisories to their citizens to avoid, this protest. And then we also saw international communities like Amnesty International also saying they are monitoring events as events unfold. Talk to us, what does this say? Or what do you get from all of this that is coming up, talking about US, Canada, and the UK issuing advisories towards the protest that is meant to start on the 1st of August?
Thank you for this question. The US, UK, and Canada likes to always push forward an alarmist information, even though there are no credible intelligence that shows cases of uprising. Currently, there's an Olympic that is taking place in Paris, in France. Just a few months ago, there were a lot of riots, burnings, and destructions.
Recall that
yes,
security agencies had said that they got information that there are persons who intend to hijack the protest. Isn't that information enough for these persons to feast on?
You see, the problem is that the US, UK, Canada, all those Western countries sometimes have a way of, when there are very little things, they sound alarm internationally as if there is a demonstration that is coming to Nigeria. There is nothing very serious. Yes, we agree that there are some planned protests that is about to be taking place by some very few saboteurs of the effort of the government of today. We already know the effort that this government is putting in place to make sure that all Nigerians get better. There are so many things that have been put in place. The information is outside. Everyone understands what brought about the challenges that we are seeing today, the food inflation, and the energy crisis. We already know what are the causes of this. Food inflation is a global issue. The energy crisis that we are facing is also a global issue. This is something that is happening because of the global challenges that we are facing in different places of the world due to geopolitical dynamics that is emerging between the bipolar and the multipolar order. These are very clearly explained and everyone is aware. And everybody saw how the president is doing extensively to ensure stability of this country. First and foremost, we have a country where even when you have fact distributions, it doesn't get to the grassroots. The president said, no, for the first time, I am going to make sure that it gets to the grassroots by working hard to ensure we have local government autonomy. That is what we want.
Garba.
All the complaints we've been having in this country from the beginning has to do with the fact that governance doesn't reach the grassroots. And now we have the opportunity to do that. So
Mr.
a situation
Garba,
whereby whenever there is little crisis, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Garba, the people are complaining about hunger, starvation, increase in fuel price, and amongst other issues. And you are here calling them saboteurs. Why? for asking for their right?
I'm not calling the people that are asking for their right. In fact, protest is an inalienable right of citizens and is enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And whoever want to protest should do so peacefully. It's not a problem. But what we are saying is that when you look at the demands of the protest, especially those guys that are calling it take it back, what are they trying to take us back from? You are asking us to go back to the subsidy that has denied Nigeria progress since the time it is introduced in our own fiscal model. So we have a president that decided to say we need to change this thing completely so that we can channel these funds to the betterment of common people. And then some people came out, most of them are faceless, saying that they want to take it back. Take it back to where? When Nigeria is moving forward. So the whole thing is that we are not saying that people should not go and protest. Personally, I'm not saying that. I am saying that it has to be done within the law. But when you want to protest, you must have responsibility to ask questions, why do you really need to protest?
All right.
If you say you want to
end... Let's bring the conversation back into the studio because we have another guest here. Let's get his perspective of things, if he shares the same perspective with you, especially on the aspect of, he said, that the US, UK, and Canada are perhaps blowing things out of proportion. And I recall that the security agencies, like I pointed out, had raised the concern that there are persons who might want to hijack, this protest, which is a concern for these persons who have their citizens in the country. Is there a problem with them raising a concern on issue or issuing advisories to their citizens in the country?
So I think I'm going to beg to differ a bit from Mr. Garuba's standpoint. I mean, matters of security are very vital matters. I mean, for US, UK, and Canada to raise security alerts shows that they are taking a step in the right direction. I think Mr. Garuba is forgetting what happened during the time of NSAS. The precedent that NSAS laid is a very bad precedent. So this country has also witnessed what happened then. The UK embassy was practically shut down for a long time after the fallout of NSAS, even the US embassy. So it just tells us that we need to live in our realities. People are saying that they want to protest. The government is saying, yes, you can protest, but do it within the ambit of the law. Section 40 of our Constitution has made it clear. People have right to protest, but these embassies, these people are scared. Even yesterday, if you drive around the road of Lagos, everywhere was practically scanty. Go to shopping malls in Lekki, Admiralty Way was practically empty because of all those people are people who directly were affected by the import of the NSAS protest. So if you are saying that the UK and the US and the Canada government are blowing things out of proportion for raising security alert, you are totally wrong for saying that. Security matters are vital matters that can mar us as a country, make or mar us as a country. Look at what Lagos State government lost over 700 billion during the time of NSAS. So, these people cannot watch and say that, they have to reel out information to their nationals to say, be careful of the areas you go to. Don't go to these areas. Take cautions during this. Even we as Nigerians, yesterday, I have fear of my staff who could not come to work because of the fear of what could happen. Okay, but and now we're looking at 1st of August. It's just,
He's raising concerns about the fact that when the US, UK, and Canada raise these issues, it sends a different signal to other nationals in Nigeria.
It's not sending any wrong signal. It's just stating the obvious. Whether we like it or not, international community is watching us, and everybody saw what happened during the time of NSAS. So raising an early alert is just trying to take precautions. You cannot blame these people. They have their foreign nationals working here, living here. So they have to
have their interests.
They have their interests to protect. And these are countries who do not joke with securities.
So does this give this whole matter an international dimension, which the government has to really look at in preparing to find a solution to this whole matter as we speak?
Okay, so as we speak, I said it somewhere yesterday on the platform. The issue of Nigerians coming out to say end bad governors or these are the things we want, these are the things we want. People have the right to protest. I tell you, somebody was saying the protest is a faceless protest, is a leaderless protest. There's nothing such as that. The average Nigerian man who cannot pay school fees for 2 of his kids or 1 of his child has a right to protest. The average Nigerian man who does not know where the next meal is coming from has the right to protest. The average Nigerian man who does not know, who does not have a roof over his head has a right to protest, as long as it is done within the ambit of the law. That's why the IGP of police is saying we are going to provide security to ensure that people don't go out of. I mean, it's only unfair when unscrupulous elements and hoodlums hijack protest. Protest is a normal thing in every civil country. It happens. So I mean, it is now the onus of the government to provide and listen to the cry of the people. People are hungry. Now, if I go to the fuel station to buy food, I don't even bother asking what price are you selling, because there is no point. Every other time you go to the gas station, every other station sells at different prices. Well,
government is saying they are putting measures in place to address all of the demands of these persons. Recall that just yesterday, the Federal Executive Council agreed that fuel should be sold to Dangote Refinery and other local refineries, persons who have the license to refine locally, to sell crude to them in Naira.
Excellent.
Well, isn't that a way of addressing some of the issues being raised? That's on the one hand.
So again, I think
the government said that they have ensured that they sell, I think, 50 kg of rice. We found that in the paper for 40,000 Naira. And then the president signed into law the 70,000 Naira minimum wage. Is government somehow addressing some of these issues?
So you have itemized three very key issues.
Right.
So selling crude oil to Dangote and other upcoming refineries in Naira, for me, is a good step. I think it will help cushion the effect on these, refinery, manufacturers and all that. But I think that even selling 50 kg of rice for 40,000 Naira also is for me, I think is a short-term solution. So I think what the government needs to do is look for a long-term solution. So if you sell 50 kg of rice for 40,000 Naira, how many Nigerians can have access to this bag of rice? So that's a short-term solution. Even the new minimum wage that was increased recently to 70,000 Naira, for me, is also a short-term solution.
What should be
I think the long-term solution should be, let us industrialize this country. Nigeria is a country where we import almost everything we use. Go around the streets of Lagos, go around the streets of other states. A lot of manufacturing industries are closing down. We don't produce anything. In the country where we have more religious houses, in a country where we have more hotels, in the country where we have more beer parlors and we don't have manufacturing industries, is a problem.
But
it's a problem.
Do you think the government is strong enough to create industries?
Yes, the
or
government
do you think the private sector should go into that niche?
So we have always clamored for private sector and public sector partnership. Okay. Look at what Dangote is doing. Dangote is just one entity building a whole refinery.
But the government has not stopped anyone.
Yes.
So is there an enabling environment for that? Look at what CBN did recently. CBN has increased interest rate 2 times this year. And you want manufacturers to come to this country. That's not going to happen. Like just May this year, interest rate was taken from 24% to 26.25%. Just last week, it was reviewed upward again by 50 basis points to 26.75.
Right.
And you want manufacturers to come and invest in this country and borrow money and pay back. So if you borrow money from banks, they are practically servicing that loan running that business for the banks.
For the bank. Right. Let's get back to Mr. Garba in our Abuja studio. Now, so much has been said in the studio here in Lagos, and one of it is the matter of government's intervention, and the police now saying that they will provide protection for the protesters as they go out to protest on Thursday. The capacity of the police to really manage situations such that whoever it is, the nationals in this country, whether they are from UK, Canada, US, wherever they come from, feel a sense that they are secure. Do we have that capacity? As security say that they are willing to protect the protesters and ensure that the protest is not hijacked at the end of the day. Do you see them having the capacity to do so? That's on the one hand. The other hand is government's intervention, like we reeled out here. Government saying that the NNPCL should sell crude to a Dangote refinery and other local refineries in Naira. How much impact is that going to have? As well as the president signing the 70,000 Naira into law and then the offer of the bag of rice, 50 kg bag of rice for 40,000 naira.
Yes, the security agencies have a history of the situations such as this that happened during the NSAS. They've done a lot of background review, they've carried out training, they understood exactly what they need to do. So the fact that there are statements that have come out from the Inspector General of Police, you know, several efforts have been put in place by the Office of the National Security Advisor under the leadership of Malam Nuhu Ribado. We are seeing a lot of efforts that are going there in terms of civilian and intelligence management of the entire system. And we also have, you know, even releases from the from the Chief of Defense Staff. So I believe the security of Nigeria is very much capable of handling this situation and to try to fish out the miscreant. The only issue, as you rightly said, is that government are doing enough to ensure that the protest itself has no need of taking place. You know, sometimes when people come, you know, you start talking about emotive things or things around emotional issues. We need to face our realities. For the first time, we have a government that is talking about the realities on the ground. The numbers you are seeing is our real numbers. Now, people are saying inflation is very high, you know, and also interest rate is going high. Every other statecraft engineer should understand that the only way to reduce inflation is to bridge the infrastructure gap. Nigeria, we have massive infrastructure gap. And one of the first approval of this government on coming to power is to see how they can improve on infrastructure rejuvenation plans. You know, building, you know, the Calabar Coastal Way to Lagos, between Sokoto to Badagry, and several other massive infrastructure projects are ongoing. The reason why it's cheaper to import in Nigeria, it is because it is more expensive to export fruits from Benue State to Lagos than to import the same fruits from South Africa to Lagos port.
Yeah, why is that?
Because of the infrastructure challenges on the way. The infrastructure is not good. Because of the infrastructure that is bad, it costs so much to carry goods from one part of Nigeria to the other. In fact, if you look at the statistics that have been reeled out by the economics, it's more cheaper to import a container of something from China than to pick it from Kano to Lagos. So this is very strong issue that we need to tackle head on. And this is what the government is doing. So the government is trying to say, okay, take this small measure of picking a minimum wage of 70,000 naira, but we need to put this money back into infrastructure, what we are getting, to make sure that we bridge the gap between buyers and sellers, between demand and supply, so that we can have cost of goods or cost of transportation and cost of living to be reduced. So this is what the government is trying to do. And that is why the subsidy removal makes sense, because these monies are going to be channeled to these infrastructure building plans. But unfortunately, you know, so many people, you know, that are not satisfied with the status quo, that felt like they're feeding fat from the subsidy regime, that they spend more than 1 year now without getting something coming to them. They're trying to sabotage the whole process. And this is unfortunate if Nigerians decided to fall for this trap.
Mr. Garba, you had earlier mentioned that government is doing enough and that this protest should not hold, that the protesters should be patient with the government. But in your own view, how has this enough that the government is doing impacted on the economy such that the young people that want to go and protest from the 1st of August will understand that government is doing quite enough for the economy?
The challenges here is this. When you are carrying out a reform, you need time, a minimum time to implement the reform. Today, we are celebrating so many countries. Maybe you can say we are celebrating China. China did not just grow out of the blue from one place to the other. China started growing from 1980s down to, in fact, it was even in 2005 that China began to make a very strong push into the global economy. From 1980, just look at the period of time. You know how many generations were born over this period. We are celebrating Singapore, the miracle of growth and development and co and co. Lee Kuan Yew that we celebrated managed Singapore for 30 years. Similarly, we may be celebrating South Korea. They did the same thing. So it takes time and usually often a painful process to carry out a reform. But the best thing is that we are doing the reform with our own real capacities, as opposed to the previous times that we are doing it with our apparent capacities, feeding on subsidy, 220 million people, subsidizing for 220 million people. It doesn't make sense. So what the government is trying to say is that pick this money, we want to use it to build, number one, the infrastructure gap. Number two, to solve our social and political challenges. There are so many requests that these bandits that are operating in the Northwest should be bombed, should be destroyed, should be killed. But when the president came on board, he began to look at the root cause of the issue. And the root cause of the problem is social justice system. How do you address that? Create a structure that will accommodate and take care and engineer them for the better so that they can continue to enjoy the benefit of Nigeria. And that's why we have the Ministry of Livestock Development come mainstream. And several other efforts of this government that is doing day and night to ensure that Nigerians are better. Look at the Nigerian Education Loan Fund that has been released. Look at the Youth Enterprise Fund that was just recently released. Just to ensure that Nigerians become productive. You have access to resources that will make you
Mr.
to
Garba,
be productive. When you
just
look at all those,
one of the demands of these people saying that they do not want loans, they want grants, that the government should give students grants as against loans.
you see, the problem is that you cannot run even a family, on free meal ticket. You can't tell me that you want me to give you capital, right, for you to just enjoy it. It means if I give you grant, what you will do with it is just you will spend it because you do not have obligation to pay back. So there is no incentive for you to work hard. And what is required for giving this loan is for you to be able to work hard so that you can be able to pay back. The incentive here that the government is generating is the productivity, the productive outcomes that you are going to generate. This is the standard. But the situation whereby you are requesting for a grant, it means you are requesting for free meal ticket, and it doesn't work that way.
There are those who benefited from free education sometimes in the past. Why can't we have that now? That's what they are asking.
You see, that is why when you are talking about the contemporary realities of the past and the present, we are just going to be deceiving ourselves. The fact of the matter is that what took place in the 1960s and the 1970s can never, ever be what is taking place right now. So there is no way we will say that because we had free education some times back, that now we will also continue to have free meal tickets.
Why isn't
there are other things that we enjoy for free now. No,
why isn't that possible?
Now, when we are talking about free education, that period we have like 40 million people in Nigeria, between 60 million people in Nigeria. How many people are going to school? Maybe when you do the calculation, you don't find more than 500,000, 1 million people out of these 60 million people. So there are supposed to be some incentive to encourage people to come into school, to come to classes, and that is why this happened. Even currently, as I'm talking to you, there are some state governments that are subsidizing for primary and secondary education. Free primary, free secondary education. And at the back of this program is to incentivize parents to send their children to schools. So that is what it is done. But now we understood the value of going to school. You can't go to tertiary education and now come into public space or maybe into labor market and not understand the value of working. Will not understand the value of your education. So it's no longer free. You have to pay for it. Except if we want to be a welfare state, then we should be able to say it. Thank God constitutional amendment is taking place. People can make their input. But Nigeria is a capitalist state. It's a capitalist state. So the fact that it's a capitalist state, we have to pay attention to our respective production so that we can consume what will turn out to give additional value. Not just we consume what we will go and throw it away and continue to consume and consume until we suck the entire country dry and all of us now end up without any country, without anything. Okay. We've seen the consequences of such kind of action in Zimbabwe.
All right, so let's come to the studio. Mr. Nwela, what's your thoughts on all he has said so far?
So I quite agree with him with saying that a lot of these reforms takes a matter of time before it takes its full potential in the economy. For example, the issue of the new CBN rate that was reviewed last week. So the one that was reviewed in May, it was just 2 months ago. And we had another review, upward review last week.
Yeah.
And according to experts, because this is some of the root cause of our problems. I mean, when you increase interest rates, you are curbing against inflation. That's a way to edge against inflation. But for that to take full effect on the economy, it takes a minimum of 12 to 18 months. So, but the CBN governor has just reviewed the interest rates. And this is one of the root cause of our issue. Because for me, for us to really grow this country, we need to put an end to importation. From what Mr. Garba is saying, we cannot, the cost of imports cannot be, importing goods from abroad cannot be cheaper than cost of, importing goods within the country. Yeah, that's not, so I don't know where he's getting his facts from, but I think that we should grow Nigeria. Let us, I mean, if we are doing that, we're going to be, creating jobs. The area of job security, food security, those two areas have to be looked into critically.
But do you agree with him that government is doing enough?
Yes, yes. So for me, this administration is just a year and some few months old. So I think that Mr. President, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing so well. But I'm also worried that we should slow down with the kind of policies we're churning out. Because if we are not careful, we're going to lead our economy to come at us.
Which of them? So
now, Mr. President assumed office just in May. Nigerians were not ready
2023.
In May 2023. Yeah. Nigerians were not ready for the removal of taking off fuel subsidy. Yes, taking off fuel subsidy is a novel idea. I mean, we cannot continue to enrich a certain group of persons at the expense of well-meaning Nigerians. Yes, but Nigerians were not ready. As soon as the fuel price went up, every other commodity, every other goods and services went up within the country. And that's one of the root cause of this problem. So I think that at the point of removing fuel subsidy, there should have been other interventions on ground to cushion that effect of fuel subsidy. Yes, the president is saying that he wants to use such monies to improve infrastructure, which is also a very noble idea. But again, the effect on using such monies on infrastructure, Nigerians have not begun to witness that yet. As we speak today, we still have bad roads in Lagos. We have in other parts of the country. I was somewhere in Songo Hotel over the weekend. I practically had to park my car and take a bike because there was no road. So we need to start to see the effect on the economy before rolling out other policies.
Can we see that effects quickly?
Yes. So possible? I mean, so for me, I think that the government, particularly the president and his cabinet, needs to be proactive in also churning out these policies in manners that will take its full effect simultaneously. We cannot roll out these policies almost immediately. It's going to stifle the economy and it's also going to lead us to a comatose. So we're trying to prevent that. So I think that it is very important for the president to listen to the cry of the populace. To be very honest with you, there's a lot of hardship in the town. There's a lot of hardship. People are hungry. People cannot even afford to eat 3 square meals. And that's supposed to be a very vital, a very key aspect for any leader to look into. Yes, we want to say people should not protest, but people will protest as long as it is done within the ambits of the law. I mean, it is their civil right, it is their constitutional rights. But again, let us create jobs. It is very, very important. Most of these youths saying that they want. I mean, I cannot imagine me now saying I want to go and protest because I have a job to go.
Is it the government's duty to create jobs, or to just create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive?
It is see, whether we like it or not, everything rises and falls on the government. It is the government's duty to create jobs for people. Do you know how many graduates are being churned out every year? Where are the jobs for them to do? And these same graduates will rather stay at home. A lot of them have become content creators online, reeling out irrelevant content and sending out wrong messages. That's why we think that if people have jobs to do, there's going to be a lot of ease on the economy, and there will be nobody that will say I want to go and protest. But whether you like it or not, and I do manage the devil's workshop. Right.
So that's anyway, let me come back to you, Adamu Garba, on this matter that you raised earlier. We need clarification. You said that there are persons who were feeding off government, and because they could not feed off from the government anymore, they are looking to sabotage things. That is why they are pushing this call for a protest. How do you mean? Do you have evidence to prove or back up this statement that you have made?
No, but these are very clear things. You know, when subsidy is available, there are so many beneficiaries of this subsidy regime. And you know how hard they fought, you know, to make sure that subsidy remains. It was a constant battle during Olusegun Obasanjo's presidency from 1999 up to 2007 when he left the office. It was also a challenge for Jonathan Yar'Adua administration at that time. It was a huge challenge for Muhammadu Buhari, you know, President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria then, when he came on board from 2015. Remember, we got into recession in 2016. An attempt was made to remove subsidy, a lot of riot, a lot of activities, protests, and he has to bring it back. Every time making incremental reduction of fuel subsidy. Then when you look at the budget of the subsequent years, you see that the subsidy payment even get multiplied. So it continues. And there are few beneficiaries to it. We've seen the investigation that was done during Goodluck Jonathan's administration, where many explosions came out about the beneficiaries of subsidies and some of the, you know, criminal actions they are taking in place by fabricating documentations to be able to profiteer from the monies that ordinarily supposed to go to Nigerians, right? Then again, we now have this president coming on board on the first day saying that is the end. It is no longer business as usual, removed, and nobody is going to benefit
that
the
past administration had removed it towards their leaving office, towards their time of leaving office. They had removed it. So the current president just spoke what they had removed.
Yes, let me tell you, the current president also have a liberty to say it's come back because he is the commander-in-chief. Yet he decided to keep faith and said subsidy is gone. So by making that statement, you are incurring the wrath, you know, of others that are the beneficiaries of this subsidy regime. And the fact that you see one of the first demands of the Take It Back protesters is to bring back fuel subsidy by saying that return the price of crude of fuel to 100 naira means that you are trying to say that bring back subsidy. So if this is the case, then it makes a strong empirical connection between the subsidy beneficiaries, because they know if this is returned back, they are the beneficiaries, and perhaps even the sponsorship of the protest. And
well, is subsidy
very critical.
Really gone? Is subsidy really gone? Because there's been conversations around payments still being done. Recall that when the NLC was negotiating and when they concluded the negotiation, that the NLC president in an interview said that when the president opened the books, he said, if you want 250,000 naira, this is the amount that people will be paying for fuel. Doesn't that mean that subsidy is still on?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, if subsidy is back, then it's unfortunate for Nigerians. You know, it's unfortunate. It is not the loss of the government, it's actually the loss of Nigerians. But I think we will have to wait for categorical statement from the government to verify whether subsidy is back or not. So far, I really cannot find any categorical statement substantiating the fact that subsidy regime is still in play.
All right. Okay, so you've mentioned that one of the demands of the end bad governance protesters. Other demands include restoring the electricity tariffs to affordable levels for the public, return import duties to their previous rates, amongst other demands, as well as reducing the cost of governance as well. Are these demands not valid enough?
Yes, you see, the issue of reducing the import rate to some certain level, also meaning that you have to subsidize import, right? Talking about electricity, also reducing it. Remember that there are some activities that took place when we sell when the government of previous administrations sell the discourse, you know, to the hands of private individual, which it failed. So this government decided to take a proactive measure to reverse these things and review everything. So all those are actually also incurring right of some interest. So the fact that this thing find their way within the end bad governance protest also is questionable. The issue of reduction in the cost of governance is very valid. Me, I'm not even seeing the issue as a cost of governance, but cost of government. The cost of government is too high. The ostentatious lifestyle of some public office holders is usually sometimes confrontational to ordinary people. When they are struggling with hunger, with starvation, with inflation, both food inflation and energy inflation, then you see a minister coming to an occasion with 50 fleet of cars. All of them brand new kind of jeeps. So this is too expensive to maintain. Why do you have to have up to 50 fleet of cars as a minister? Why do you have to have up to 20 fleet of cars as a DG? Why do you have to have these expensive lifestyles? So I think government declaring austerity measures in reduction of cost of government makes sense. Let there be a circular, from the Executive Council that they should reduce, that most of the public office holders reduce the so much show of what they are taking and channel these monies back into the common good of the people. I think that will help the matter.
Looking at what you have just said in this final part, do you think that the removal of fuel subsidy, of electricity subsidy and all of that has made the lives of the masses better?
To be very candid with you, when you look at the monies that goes to the governors in the state, in the fact-sharing formula, you will see that it's almost tripled. Now, what are people doing to hold their governors accountable for the excess monies they are receiving? Number one. Number two, there is local government autonomy and monies is going to be going down to the grassroots. This just happened. It is a matter of waiting like 6 months to 1 year to see the outcome of that, which is naturally going to be very positive. So this will work. Then when it comes to electricity, I don't know for others, but actually I have seen improved electricity, for myself. And the fact that it's a little bit expensive, yes, it is expensive compared to before, but I can predict, I can be able to shut down some of the materials I ordinarily leave them open in my houses. I can off my fridge when going out, I can off my ACs, I can switch off everything that I don't need them to be on, so that I can save my electricity consumption since I have meter that I can be able to measure. So this,
interesting. Not every Nigerian can afford that luxury. Unfortunately, not every Nigerian can afford that luxury. But gentlemen, quickly hold your thoughts. We need to quickly take this story and we'll come back to you. Police authorities in Plateau State have arrested and paraded a wannabe content creator who posted a video on TikTok calling for violent reactions in the state ahead of the coming nationwide protest. TVC News senior reporter Funam Joshua brings us the details.
Suleiman Yakubu, a resident of Jos, claims to be a content creator. He is arrested for posting a video ahead of the nationwide protest where he is calling on protesters to attack and burn security facilities, government buildings and private properties in the state. The video ignited some reactions in the state which prompted his tracking and eventual arrest by the effort of the Plateau State Police Authority.
I haven't been working very seriously to ensure this meeting with stakeholders on the plateau. This young man, who is supposed to be assisting the Nigerian police on the plateau, took it upon himself to call for violent protests, call for the burning of petrol stations. He also called for the burning of police stations, STF quarters, and other very essential facilities, including government facilities. Even made bold to say that we even move to Refi, where we go and get people that he believed to be the bourgeois of the society.
In an exclusive interview with TVC News, the suspect claims he's trying to promote his TikTok page, not knowing the message was inciting.
I regret the first day I opened TikTok in my life, because I know my mother, my parents, my family, all of them, they will not be happy. They should temper mercy with justice.
Following the development, the Commissioner of Police in the state summoned an emergency meeting with various leaders of market association to brainstorm on the way forward.
Please, we should not allow anybody to deceive us. There are many people out there that want to deceive us. We just finished a meeting with all the heads of security agencies. All the security agencies will work together to protect the state. And we are going to protect you.
We have to applaud the police. We have to really show our appreciation most to the police because of their well done job.
Ahead of the nationwide protest, the police authorities here in Plateau State are appealing to the general public that want to come out to participate in the protest to do it in a manner that will not go contrary to the laws of the state. On the case of this content creator, the police says after their investigation, they are going to take him to the court of law to decide. From Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
All right, let's quickly get the perspective of our guest in the studio to this move by the TikTok person. Yeah.
Yeah. So I made a statement earlier. During
talking about I do mind.
I do mind. A lot of times they'll become illegal and illegal content creators, churning out content that will mislead people. You see, it's at times I sit and wonder if social media is a blessing or a curse to us in this part of the country. I mean, how do you sit in your room and start to call people to go and vandalize government properties, create havoc in the mind? So that's why even during NSAS we saw a lot of these things play out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
A lot of stories were blown out of proportion. Mm-hmm. Oh, 100 people died, 1,000 people died. So social media, I think the use of social media to us in this part of the country is being abused. Mm. So I think this young man needs to face the consequences of his statement. You cannot incite people to go and create havoc and violence on people's property. A lot of people have not still, recovered from the NSAS, aftermath of the NSAS.
Absolutely.
People were suicidal. Mm. People died. A lot of people took loans to start up businesses, and all those properties were vandalized. I know companies at one of the malls in Lekki that a lot of occupants in that complex have not recovered from the fallout from the NSAS process. It was looted. And yet we have somebody who's calling for another similar scenario. So I think that for me, the youth of today needs to be very careful with our use of social media. I even think that the platform he even posted it should even have, policies to pull down such videos from TikTok. So a lot of times when you post stuff on Instagram now, it tells you, are you sure you want to post this or you want to? So it asks you once you still go ahead to post it, it shows that you are ready to face the consequences of your action. So I think such people should be made scapegoat. I mean, this is wrong. We want peace in this country. There's no need for protest and violent protest. There's no need for causing havoc. There's no need for damaging government properties. We need peace. Everybody wants to wake up in the morning and go about their businesses. 1st of August is here. There's a lot of tension in the air already. We don't even know what's going to happen. But we emphasize that it's going to be peaceful. The police, the IGP has said that the police will be all around the place.
Will protect the protesters.
And we hope that it's going to be peaceful.
All right, Adamu Garba, in about 2 or 50 seconds, your comment on this video and your final word.
Peace is priceless. It's very, very important that people, to be mindful of what they put out there, because you don't know who receive it and you don't know how people are going to use it, especially in a period where people are usually, these days, very tensed. Some are angry with certain situations. When you post some content, only God knows what they will carry it and use. I think we need to commend even the effort of police for quickly tracking and arresting that individual, I can hear from his speech, he was regretting about how he believes his mother particularly will feel, because he was, to him, trying to just create a controversial content to promote his own page. And these are wrong, a very wrong approach to promote your content. So I think we should be very mindful of the way we use digital media. I run social media myself. I built a social media, my company, Crowy application. I know the governance rule that usually goes behind, and I like the last suggestions of Mr. Mustafa in the studio. He said that there are supposed to be some measures with the platform companies. So I think that's very good. Yeah.
Thank you, Adamu Garba, former